Welcome to Spotlight Sessions, where we shine a
What's
light
your
on
story?
incredible impact. What does accessibility mean to you?
What's your mission?
Hello, and welcome to another episode of accessiBe's Spotlight Sessions, an opportunity to hear from disability leaders and change makers in the community. I'm your host for today's episode. My name is Sapir, and I head up accessiBe's nonprofit partnership program. We're really excited to have Tjerk today. So welcome, Tjerk.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
And so are we. So why don't we jump in, and can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
All right. My name is Feitsma. I'm a Dutchman. And you say it like chair with a K at the end, chair. And I'm the founder and director of the Neurodiversity Foundation. We're based in the Netherlands, and we have been preparing since 2016 to do great works in the world, but also in our own nation. And in 2018, we founded our organization, and it has been doing, amazing things. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to share a little bit today about, some of the things we're doing. Should I just jump into it, Shepia?
Please do.
Excellent. Well, first we noticed in 2016 that where I come from, nobody understood or really knew about the word neurodiversity, but also not what it means, and also not, the underlying message of the neurodiversity paradigm. So we looked at some people in America and in England and in Canada, but there was nothing like that out here. So we thought, well, then we're just going to start it ourselves. And here we are 6 years later and still running and bustling. Our first mission was to introduce the concept into society. So we, sending hundreds of emails, doing workshops, presentations, whatever it takes to bring the good word. Our second part is research. We are building a nonverbal sign language messenger and interpreter, and using AI and all kinds of very cool tech stuff. And we've been preparing that for neurodiverse families along the way, and that's going wonderful as well. We have a Neurodiversity Education Academy, which creates books and magazines and webinars and tools and all kinds of awesome stuff. Like, this is one of our magazines, My Amazing Brain, and this is our most recent book, What's Strong With You? And our fourth part is a little bit of a baby of my own, or, something I really cherish and consider super duper important. That is, we are the organization that started the Neurodiversity Pride Day in 2018. And next year, on June 16, 2024, will be the 7th edition and the biggest one ever. And we started fairly humble, but over time, this grew very large. And first in one city, and then in 4, and then in 3 countries, and then in 6, and then in 10. And we hope to make this a worldwide global day of celebration. And our big aim is to go to the United Nations and basically ask if we can be on the world calendar list for all time, so that all around the world people are notified that it's good to celebrate your neurodivergent self, and that there's value in also looking kindly to yourself and your other neurodivergent peers. And there is beauty in the neurodivergent uniqueness that we all have and that we all kind of share as well. So June 16, 2024. Yes, you are invited too. In fact, everybody who's watching this is invited too. There you go.
So I'm really excited to be celebrating that with you on June 16th. But can you tell some of our listeners who might not know, what does it mean to be neurodiverse?
Well, to be neurodiverse doesn't necessarily have a meaning, because the word neurodiverse is mostly used in the wrong way. You can be either neurotypical or neurodivergent, and neurodiverse describes a group, so to say. So you can have a neurodiverse group, but you can never be a neurodiverse person. And this kind of grammatical error happens often. And neurotypical stands for the dominant way of how the brain operates, or, the most frequently happening type of brain. And everybody that is different from that type is called neurodivergent. So it's a very inclusive word as well. It covers a lot. It covers being autistic, having ADHD, dyslexia, dyscalculia, so on, but also acquired neurodivergence, because sometimes something happens in life that makes your brain function in a different way for whatever reason. And then, you're esteemed as a neurodivergent as well. So we are a pretty big group now. It is estimated that we are 1 in 7 or 1 in 5. But I think if you would truly look deeper, And if we would take the time for people to really discover themselves, those numbers might be even higher. And well, that's great news for the world, because the more different we are, the better we are as a unit, the better we are as a collective. And the more different we are, the more different types of solutions or perspectives comes to the table, when it needs to be there. So I'm very excited about the development of a lot of neurodivergent people discovering themselves, either through diagnosis or by self-identification. And yeah, the future is looking bright. Yes, it is.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that definition. So, as you know, our company is in the field of website accessibility, but when you hear the word accessibility, what does that mean to you?
Well, I think what it means to me mostly is that there's two ways of looking at this. One is, if you don't know how you would be born or which person you would be if you would swap your body in some kind of, let's say an alien sci-fi movie, then if the world gets to be reshaped, you would want that to have rules that are good for everyone. So even if you're in an advantageous position or a disadvantageous position, then still that basically everything is fair and basically everything is equal. So for example, if you don't have legs, then you should still be capable of entering any public building. So there should be specific type of sizes of the door so that you can also, wheel your wheelchair in, and those kinds of things. That is what society can do, and mainly politics can do, to make a more, equitable and more fair society. But there's also another part, and that part is in ourselves. If we have issues with whatever our barriers are, whether they're communication, whether they're physical barriers, and so on, it's also a little bit upon us to look for ways how we can make the situation that is apparently there, because the world is not perfect, even though we're trying, how to make it feasible for you to still be able to join in. So for me, accessibility is all about that world, the ability to join in. And the world has to make accommodations to make that happen, because it just doesn't work any other way. But there is also a call in us to seek for ways how we can include ourselves, and seek for ways what would make it possible for us to be there. And both those items, I think we can improve in the next 100 years, and that definitely. And there's a lot of lost markers that we still want to achieve and fix for the future generations. If we look at the last 50 years, the world is trying its best in all kinds of different ways to, effective or not, try to make the world more accessible to others. And this is a movement that we have to cherish and celebrate, even when we're not even when it's a marathon sprint that will take many hurdles still. Every step forward is a step that won't be taken away. And that gives a lot of hope. Yes.
I love your sense of optimism in everything that you're saying, both on the side of self-advocacy, but also on what the world has accomplished or not accomplished, and your positive outlook on all of that. What do you think businesses could be doing to make the world more accessible, or what can they do to make the world more accessible for someone who's neurodivergent?
Well, we could have a talk of about 2 hours where I'll be, ranting and rambling about all the hundreds of opportunities. And if you're a company, you could call us and I will tell you. But I think something recent that I noticed is in a different bracket. And that is, currently, there's a lot of organizations and companies that are, waking up to the reality that there's more types of diversity than they thought possible 20 years ago. Where we have the 6 pillars like age, sexual orientation, and so on, which are known by most DNI. There is a new branch, the 7th pillar, and that is neurodiversity. The fact that we are neurologically different, and that there's different ways in how we experience the world, how we interpret the world, and this has effects in its behavior and our outcomes and our, what we put out, basically. So there's a lot of companies now waking up to this and trying to learn more, and that is wonderful, because if there's more understanding, there's more compassion, there's more elegance, there's more optimization, there's more efficiency, and there's more of that human potential of, we can do so much, but we're limited by society. And this kind of learning reduces the limitations that we feel even in our work, so we can create even more. And my request for companies is, if you're going to do this, and I totally recommend that you should, and neurodiverse teams are more effective than neurotypical teams as well. So, hey, it might be even financially beneficial. But if you're going to do that, please consider this. Make sure the training is done by somebody with lived experience, somebody who's neurodivergent themselves. So perhaps if you have a whole team of trainers, not everybody necessarily, but if you're not including lived experience, you're completely missing out on a very important part, and also part of the soul of why this is important. And the soul of why this is important is that a lot of us neurodivergents over time and during our lifetimes are being told to normalize or to behave basically like a neurotypical individual, which is unnatural to us. And then we're trying to cosplay being, like a regular person, so to say. And this hurts us. So it's very good that these trainings arise, and it's very good that these trainings are done. But when you're doing them in your company, make sure they're done by a neurodivergent themselves. Make sure that they are, embedded in lived experience, and you will feel the benefit of it as well. Also, because this creates jobs for neurodivergent people, and a lot of advocates really need it. So with the dawn of ChatGPT, make me a training about neurodiversity. Any other person can try to emulate our real work, but not in the same quality. Go for quality. There you go.
I love that. And it's so important. We hear this in our conversations on the importance of involving someone with a lived experience, because you just can't see the world in the same way or experience it in the same way. And typically when we assume wrong. So
Yeah.
to have the person with that experience, whether it is from the neurodiversity community or from another community, to hear those different perspectives and voices is so important.
Yes, it is. And we have a lot to share, often this is something we're really passionate about, but also are very excited to be able to tell and to give knowledge and insights and wisdoms from a perspective that is probably not being heard so often. So yes, go for the real thing. Don't do the copy.
So I actually want to go back to something that you said earlier in the conversation. You showed us your book, or the book from the foundation, What's Strong with You, which that is such a good play on words. Can you tell us a little bit about the book?
Yes. So the What's Strong with You slogan is also the slogan of Neurodiversity Pride Day, because exactly this play of words. We usually get the question, hey, what's wrong with you? But the question is really, hey, that differentness that I see, I want to understand it better. So instead of allowing this kind of negative framing to just run rampant around society, instead we want to, change the narrative of that and have people ask themselves, hey, what's strong with you? Because focusing on strength-based items is much more powerful, but also it frees the person from the negative stereotypes, the microaggression, the prejudices, and that whole thing of society is learning to be nicer, and it takes some time. This book, written by Lana Yeleniev, Saskia Wenniger, and Alex Brooks, has a lot of exercises to change the mindset from deficits or the way of deficit thinking, hey, what is wrong with you, to strength-based thinking, hey, what's strong with you, and how can we utilize that? How can that be made more important and more relevant and more effective in our team or in our cause or, in our mission, whatever this could be. So to help out, we created a workbook with exercises that people can use, both in companies, in schools, and wherever, to explore in this new way of thinking, this more positive approach that we feel is really needed to change the narrative also on a global level. And this is just our edition, but there's many good authors and writers out there who are creating tools and books, all promoting this new paradigm of, hey, it's also good to be different, and there's value in that. And we just need to focus on that too. If too much attention is focused on the deficit concept that some still have.
Absolutely. So if everyone can do their one bit to make the world nicer, kinder, more inclusive, what would you suggest that be?
Well, I think one of the most important things I learned from another advocate who told us to be kind, because you don't know in what situation the other is. And I truly believe that. But I would go even a little bit deeper. And that is, be curious. We all have minds and brains that have this tendency to put people in little boxes or in little categories or subcultures, and all of a sudden our lazy brain thinks, oh, I know all about that person because he's that or that type. And you do it, I do it, everybody. This is how the brain works. But if we put in a little bit more energy, if we work our brain a little bit more, we all have the capacity and ability to be curious about the other individual and to see that other individual truly as a one instead of a one of a category. And I promise you, when you start giving people your attention to them as if they're unique, as if they're an individual, as if they're more than just a category, you will see the humanity that this world needs. So be curious. That is mine.
Tjerk, thank you so much for being a guest on the Spotlight Sessions. This was such a fun and interesting conversation with you today.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. And hey, I'm just going to plug my own thing here. Our own thing. It's not my thing. We do this with many organizations, many people. June 16, Neurodiversity Pride Day. What are you proud of to be neurodivergent? And we invite everybody to organize activities, to do something for themselves. There will be a main program with 24-hour DJs and dances and online conferences and all kinds of cool stuff. But that is not what the day is about. That is just, we just make it look pretty. What the day is really about is for you as a neurodivergent individual to take a moment for yourself. This can be a minute, an hour, this can be whatever you want it to be, but to reflect on the beauty that you individually bring to this world as a neurodivergent individual. Because throughout the year, we will get those microaggressions, we will get those comments, we will get those statements, or, people saying things on social media or whatever. That's going to be there, and the world is going to take some time to change that. But we can change in ourselves is to also have a day where we have a moment to reflect on the good in us and to know that it's a lot. And having that day will perhaps allow you to go into the rest of the year with a little bit more strength, a little bit more self-confidence, and a little bit more understanding that you shouldn't mask yourself. You shouldn't try to behave like a normal person. You should be you. And that is what the world really needs of us. So June 16, 2024, all neurodivergents invited.
Love it. And we'll be there. Absolutely. So to all of our guests, thank you so much for sticking through this episode. We'll have all the details that were shared today in the description below. If you want to continue the conversation with us, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Instagram at accessiCommunity, and we look forward to seeing you there.